Hey everybody, this is Robert Cabeca from The Chocolate Chef, and I have with me Andrea Howard from Veritas Artisan Chocolate. Say hi.
Hi.
Awesome. I'm really, it's a big pleasure for me, and I'm very privileged to be speaking with Andrea today. She is at a very unique spot where she's just started this brand new chocolate company, and I'm going to give her the opportunity to tell you all about it. I met Andrea at the DC Chocolate Festival just a few months ago in April. It seems such a long time ago, but what a great event with 30 other vendors. And Andrea had a really great table set up, and I got to go up and taste some of the chocolate, and I was really wowed by it. And even more so, when I started to learn about what Andrea was doing, I really became fascinated by her story and how she got into the business that she's in. So there's a lot of similarities between us. You know, we have very varied histories and careers, and it's like, how do we end up in chocolate? You know, so with that, Andrea, why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself to everybody, tell everyone the name of your company, where your store is located, and how people can reach you.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks, Robert. Correct. So actually, we bought the company about a little over a year ago. It was a startup when we bought it, and so they were just kind of getting rolling, and then they went in a different direction with their business and sold the chocolate part of the company. So it's been a steep learning curve for the last year, but it's been an amazing ride. We are located, our commercial kitchen where we produce the chocolate is in Purcellville, Virginia. And we don't have a retail space yet, but we are looking, and we're hopeful within the next year to have our own retail space or a shared space with some other local food producers to sell our chocolate. So when we bought the company a year ago, they were just producing 70% from bean to bar. And in the last year, we've taken it from the 70% bars to we've added 60, 80, 90, milk chocolate, sugar-free, and then some flavors and inclusions, nuts, Rice Krispies, things like that. And then we also got into bonbons, truffles, and some other sort of adult chocolates, which are really fun.
Okay. So you said you don't have a store right now, but are you online on the internet selling things through an online store?
We have our website, and so we take online orders through that. We have a shopping cart and an e-commerce aspect to the website, so people can purchase there. And because we're small boutique, it's really mostly me. Sometimes my husband helps, and my grown kids help with events, but it's really me is the we. And so because we're small, I can do any sort of special orders. So we bought a edible ink printer, and we've done some really fun things for local wineries that have had like their membership events, and they want to showcase their, give gifts to their members. And we've done like little chocolates with their initials or their logos printed right on the chocolate. So, I mean, we can do all kinds of special order things, or if somebody wants a, particular flavor or something that we don't have on our website, we can create it.
Oh, that's fantastic. And is your website veritaschocolate.com?
It's actually Veritas Artisan, Zen, chocolate.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll be putting that link across here in the video, and I'll be putting that in the email that I send out as well. So we'll make sure that we get it right for everybody.
Excellent. Yeah, the Zen can kind of trip people up, but it's the most important part.
Well, how did you come up with the name?
Oh, interesting process. We were rebranding, so we bought the company under a different name, and we just couldn't decide what to call it. We had a lot of different ideas, and we did one of those online auctions. What is it? An online contest.
Oh.
Naming contest. So I put the elements of the business, and we wanted it kind of classy but interesting, for fun but not frivolous. All of these different elements, and people from all over the world chimed in with ideas. And we chose Veritas as the element of truth, because one of the things we said in our description was our mission is pure, the purity of the chocolate, the integrity recipe of the chocolate. And so the truth of it, which Veritas is truth in Latin, really seemed to fit. But I wanted something a little fun thrown in there. And so it's an artisan process that we go through. And, but chocolate's a very Zen experience for a lot of people. It certainly is for me. So it's like Artisan kind of gets that. So our tagline is the Zen of bean to bar chocolate.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's very clever. That's very clever. I like it. Now, what medium did you use? I know this is a little technical, but what medium did you use to actually sponsor the contest? Where did you do that through Facebook or?
I don't remember. There's several of these. My brother had told me about one of these naming site. It's kind of like 99 Designs is a platform for designs, logo design, and it's similar to that, where you
Okay.
I just don't remember the name of it right now.
Okay.
Get that to you for the email. If you
Yeah,
want to
absolutely. Yeah, it
So
just sounds fun. I did a few things like that in the past as well. I just did it through Facebook and just through email campaigns. And email campaigns are very difficult to do that because you're forcing someone to respond.
Right.
But
Right.
campaigns, that kind of a contest is really great. That was a very clever way to do it.
It was fun. It was interesting as we narrowed it down to about 5 of our top favorite. And then I sent those out to probably about 10 or 15 of my closest friends and family. And what was interesting is out of those 15 different people, we probably got, I don't know, maybe 14 different answers, even though there's like, for reasons why. I like this one, I don't like that one. And they were all different. They were all over the map. So when it came down to it, we were just like, we just have to pick what works for us because there's no one right name.
Yeah. Yeah. And you did. You picked what worked for you best. That's great. That's great. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you, why chocolate? Why'd you get into the chocolate business? What were you doing before chocolate?
Well, it's not an obvious career path. My other business is Social Media Maxima. It's a digital marketing company.
Okay.
We do social media and websites for other companies. And so the story is I still have that company. I don't market it much, but I have a few special clients. And I was helping a friend of mine who was a business broker. And so I was on a lot of these businesses for sale sites, Biz by Sell, looking at businesses for sale. And I guess I was kind of in a lull in my career, just feeling a little restless. And I saw this chocolate company for sale. And it's like, seeing a piece of jewelry in the window of a store. I just was like, I have to have it. It was everything I wanted.
Nice.
I've always loved wine and wineries and that sort of thing, but that was really out of reach and not really something I would actually ultimately want because of the level of involvement with it. But I thought, chocolate is like a close relative of wine and friends anyway. So I thought, well, I'll get into the chocolate business and then that'll have me associating with wine and wineries. So it was just, everything was perfect about it. And when we bought the company, the seller had us come in and did an intensive week-long training. So he walked us through every step of the bean to bar process, because it really is, you start with the cacao bean and then you take it through, we counted 9 steps to take it to what ends up being this chocolate bar. So 9 things have to happen before it goes from the bean that it comes to us with and then turns into that. So he took us through the entire process, and it was really a great education because, I had never known anything about it. I didn't know anything about the chocolate making process. I've always loved chocolate. I just had no idea how to make it other than seeing it at the Ghirardelli plant in San Francisco, where I'm from. So seeing that, but that's a totally different, very commercial experience. This is very, very, and it's small batch. So it's, we're working with, 5 pounds of 5 pounds of chocolate at a time. Well, 5 to 8 pounds of chocolate at a time, which, is really pretty small.
Pretty small.
And so yeah, like I just fell in love with the process. It was really everything I wanted. And I had done, with the social media company and other jobs, I've always had my own businesses. There's elements of it that were fun and things that people liked and needed, fulfilling a need. But I've never worked with anything that is so, I don't know, exciting to people, oh, chocolate. I rarely find anyone who's like, oh, I don't like chocolate. Get out of here with that stuff. It doesn't happen very often. So, and people like to know about it. And so when I talk about what I do, I rarely run into people who aren't interested or don't like the product or don't have anything to do with it. So that's really been unique for me, coming from a background of, I guess, digital marketing and fitness and other things I've done. Nothing has had this kind of excitement.
That's true. And that's exactly what I found myself when I started my first chocolate company, I don't know, 30 years ago, 1986 or 87 or something like that in Washington, D.C. And it was bonbons and, ganache-based truffles. And the response that I got from people was just overwhelming. But I had a business partner at the time, and it didn't work out. And we went our separate ways. And then, I don't know, I went into computers for a while. But found my way back to chocolate after a number of years, a few times. But, when I go to networking events frequently during the week and to connect with other business owners, for various things. And when I invariably say, I'm also a chocolatier, it's like, chocolate? What? Chocolate? It's a whole nother conversation. And they never forget me, it's like, because I'm like, how many people do they know that make chocolate? So it's kind of fun. And what I love about a couple of things that you mentioned is that people are always enthusiastic about chocolate because everyone has their own special connection to this magical bean, because we all have this memory at some past time in our life when we tasted it for the first time and we're just like, ooh, wow, what was that? I want more, and there's always a story behind it, and so there's that connection. So it just reminds people of this great sensation, this great experience that they had it once in their life, and we want to feel it again, so for me, I just want to learn more about it and want to eat more of it, especially if it's really good. So you've come really far in a very short period of time, to go on that learning curve of never having made chocolate before to actually going through that process. You were very fortunate to have someone that actually took you through a 1-week training. And I got to say, 1-week training, for some people sounds like a lot, but in the world of chocolate, it's barely scratching the surface, if at all. I can only imagine what you had to go through to actually learn really how significant each stage of the process along the way is to get to the quality of product that you're now producing, because the quality of the product that I tasted at the Chocolate Festival was really fantastic. So I know that what you created was not just from a 1-week training.
You're right.
It really is from your own eager desire, your own passion for creating something that's really great and learning the impact of each stage of the chocolate making process. And I want to kind of go back to something, you talked about the beans and getting the beans. How are you choosing what are you doing single origin? Are you doing blends? How are you choosing your beans from different regions? And why are you choosing those kinds of beans for your chocolate?
That's a great question. And that's something I really like to talk about, because I think that's something else that sets us apart, maybe not from everyone, but certainly from some people, some companies. We started a relationship with a direct trade farmer in Ecuador. He found me on Twitter, I don't know, months into us just starting the company, and he was just gearing up. And so we've been sort of on this path together. And he just, in the last few months, so I've been watching his process unfold as he's been getting his certifications and everything he's doing with the direct trade cooperatives he's working with in Ecuador, and dealing with the resistance from some of the people on the ground there who, are getting cut out of the money pain. But going through that whole process, and finally his beans getting to the States and finally them being ready to be shipped. And so now we're just at the point where we are producing the chocolate made from his beans. And so that's our relationship now, at least for the foreseeable future, is all of our chocolate is direct trade, single origin, from Ecuador, and we are getting to know the farmers and the cooperatives, and it's really exciting.
That's fantastic. Are you planning on visiting the plantation at all anytime?
Yeah, I have to go. I mean, I have to check out those beans. Yeah, we
Who doesn't want to go to Ecuador, right?
Yeah, they have a chocolate expo there once a year. It's very different than what we have in the States, from what I understand. My direct trade partner down there is, the company is called Royal Cacao, and the individual who I've been connected with all this time, his name is Michael Phillips, and he's from Massachusetts actually, and he moved to Ecuador like 5 years ago to start a cacao plantation. So it's been fun to connect with him. But gosh, where was I going with that? Forgot my train of thought. Anyway, yeah, having the direct trade relationship is, I think it does set us apart. It is important to me to have that relationship. Oh yeah, the chocolate expo, that's right. He was telling me about this expo. We're going to try to go next year. They have a lot of products that they're sort of launching from the ground, that they're trying different things. So maybe like cacao powder, but not in a way we're used to, and doing different things with the products. And I think they just have a little bit more flexibility to be able to play with the actual material and see what they can do with it. So I'm anxious to go next year and see what we can learn.
Well, that's fantastic. I know it'll be an adventure, that's for sure.
Yes.
Now, are you only focused on cocoa from Ecuador, or are you exploring with beans from other regions at this time?
We started, when we bought the company, it came with pounds and pounds and pounds of beans. So we actually are doing it the reverse. We started with beans from all over the world, and now we've narrowed in.
Okay.
So we were making chocolate with beans from everywhere, and so we were able to develop a profile and some things we liked and things we didn't like, and why. And like some of the decisions we made early on was we were going to avoid beans from Africa, simply because even though there's been a lot of progress in terms of the conditions, it doesn't appear that they've reached a level of comfort with their process with child labor and concerns about the labor practices, basically. And so we just decided not to even get into that. South America and Central America, they don't seem to have as much of a problem with that. So, however, we have noticed that the beans from a lot of the countries in the similar region taste very much the same. And it's almost could be farm to farm. So I was just having this conversation today with someone that it isn't even necessarily country to country. It could be farm to farm that there might be differences.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And flavor profiles is something I'm just learning about, because this last batch happens to have a fruity profile, and I've only ever worked with the floral profiles.
Okay.
And the difference is significant. Some people like it more, some people not so much. So even just within, and those are Ecuadorian beans. So, but the flavor profile is completely different.
Well, the terroir is, how the beans are grown in a plantation. There are many plantations that will actually specifically grow other vegetation around the cocoa, so that the cocoa can actually obtain some of these very delicate flavor, and maybe not so delicate flavor profiles, from the other vegetation, the landscaping, what have you. All that is, cocoa is very sensitive. It's very interesting. You look at this giant football-shaped cocoa pod, and you tap on it, and it seems like it's hard as a rock.
Right.
But what's amazing about it is it's very, very membranous. I don't even know if that's a real word.
Sure.
But you know, the actual membrane is actually quite thin, where it allows into it flavor profiles from the exterior. And what's even fascinating about that is that cocoa butter itself has no real flavor profile, but what cocoa butter does when you extract it from the cocoa bean is it not only absorbs and takes on the flavor of whatever it's mixed with, but it also enhances it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is really one of the unique properties of cocoa, which is, you know, I love using cocoa butter for other things. You can take some ground cocoa butter, sprinkle it on some salmon and grill it, and it's like nothing you've ever tasted before. It's just like salmon on like 10 times, tenfold. It's just the flavor just explodes. It's like, wow. But anyway, I digress. But but like you said, you know, from plantation to plantation, you have single origin, you have single region, single plantation, single source beans, and you know, you can create blends from different areas, or you can get very specific.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work because every time you ferment it differently, every time you roast it differently, every time you mill it differently, you're going to get a different flavor profile.
Right.
So the science that you're involved in,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it is a learning curve. It's fantastic, but you know, you seem to be on the right track, you know, just by the quality of the one bar that I was able to get from you at the chocolate show.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting when you talk about profiles and the mixing of things. I know one of the reasons why some of the chocolatiers use the big companies, big chocolate manufacturing companies for their chocolate is the consistency. Mm-hmm. It's always, you know, when you get a 70% dark, it's always going to taste that way. And I thought about that at the beginning, like, you know, how can I get that level of consistency? And then I decided, I guess I'm not, and I guess that's okay. That my 70% might not always taste exactly the same. And maybe that's okay. You know, there's something for everyone. And since I felt like I couldn't actually recreate that level of consistency, that I was going to accept that. And then that's part of our thing as well, you know, and then that's part of the education is teaching people, well, these are organic products. And so they take on elements of the environment where they're grown. And so you get all of those flavors. And so sometimes maybe the flavor profile isn't your favorite, and then try back next time, try a different bar and see what that's like.
Once you develop a specific pattern of manufacturing a specific bean, you'll get very adept at repeating that level of quality. Mm-hmm. You know, but even the best chocolate makers are always struggling with that exact same issue. You know, so what has been one of your maybe one of your largest challenges in doing this? I know that right now you're just only online. You're reaching out to other stores to sell your products. I know you started with one product and you've expanded your product line a little bit. So you're trying to grow rapidly. So what are some of the challenges that you are trying to overcome right now to get to this next stage for your company?
Well, we are in some retail establishments locally with wholesale contracts, and that's wonderful, because if you don't have a storefront and you don't have those wholesale contracts, then you're selling at markets outside. Right. And it's June. So it's June in Virginia, and we've been to so many events where I feel like one-arm paper hanger, trying to keep the chocolate from melting, putting it here, putting it there, putting it on ice, taking it, fanning it. It's not easy to try to sell chocolate at outdoor markets and events. We do a lot of events, and this time of year it's getting to be almost impossible. Or we need to have like a whole refrigeration system or something to be able to deal with this, because we can't then we can't showcase. We can't have the product out on the table. So we just have to tell people about it or have pictures or pantomime. I don't know. It's not been easy. So I'm open to suggestions for how to present chocolate in outdoor events while we're building up our wholesale accounts.
Yeah, that is definitely a challenge. That's definitely a challenge. What has been the favorite chocolate, the favorite product that you've created so far that you're really enjoying that you want to tell people about?
It's funny. I'm really excited by some of the creative and interesting bonbons that we do, but it's the bars that sell the most. And it's not actually surprising. We're a chocolate maker, so it makes sense that people want to buy our sort of our flagship product, which is a bar. And maybe it's just the type of markets that we go to and people are more educated about health and that sort of thing. But the 70% sells really well. And surprisingly, our 90% sells really well.
Yeah, you were telling me about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's too strong for most people, I would think, but it does really well at the markets and at the events we go to. But I think our milk chocolate is incredibly delicious because there's only 4 ingredients. It's just the cacao, sugar, a little bit of cocoa butter, and milk powder. And that's it. And it's so pure and it's creamy and it's really, really delicious. Wow. But not everyone likes milk chocolate. So that one surprisingly isn't one of our best sellers.
What is the percentage of that bar?
50.
Okay. Okay. Have you thought about making a darker milk bar?
I do. I make a dark milk chocolate.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Which is new. So that's not even on our website. It's just brand new. I'm playing with that one to see a hybrid milk dark chocolate. So it's about 65% cacao. So it's not as sweet as a regular milk chocolate.
Okay. And are you sourcing your milk powder, your dairy milk, or are you making your own milk powder or dehydrating yourself or?
No, I get it from, I can't remember the name of the company, but it's in bulk, like a big jar, something Hill, I think. It's in the States, and it's a whole milk powder, which is another reason why the chocolate is really creamy. It's hard to find, Carnation doesn't make whole milk powder. It's non-fat, and it's fine, but it's just not. It doesn't have that rich, creamy, kind of feel to it.
Yeah, using a high-fat whole milk powder is really important to get that creaminess. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, very cool. I know it's a challenge, number one, to make a dark chocolate. And you start making a milk chocolate out of it. That's a whole different ball of wax. It's a whole different cocoa bean.
It is, but it's interesting because it feels like the milk chocolate bars are more stable. I guess because this is more the chemistry I need to learn, right? They're more stable. They don't get bloom as much. They're just not as temperamental. I guess the sugar and the fat solids kind of bind it better, and whereas the 70 to 90 is, sort of a temperamental little bar. Mm-hmm. You have to be very careful with those guys.
I think it's really, really cool to be able to have a conversation with someone who is relatively new to the business. I say relatively because you've been in the business over a year, and you're making progress and everything like that. And it's a learning curve, like I said, for anyone to get in this business. And I think it's just fascinating to hear all the steps that you've taken with the primary goal of just having a high quality product as the end result, and the effort that you're going through to ensure that every stage along the way, you're taking that care, you're putting that focus on, to create that quality product. No one likes to eat bad chocolate.
No.
Yeah. And I would love to follow up with you in a year and just kind of see, where you are in a year from now and where you are now, because I just know you're going to be just on a different planet altogether. I know that you're going to grow that much and have, all different kinds of products, and you've really kind of harnessed your formulas and your processes. I think it'll be fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
What's something you want everyone to know that we didn't talk about?
Gosh, well, let's see. We've got the bars. I did sort of allude to our adult chocolates, which are really fun. They're called after hours smash chocolates, and those are really fun. And those are really big sellers when we go to events, especially events where alcohol is being served. It's different fruits that we've marinated in different types of liquors.
Okay.
We add a cream and then dip it in chocolate. So like a cherry cordial, but instead of like some of the other, and this isn't on our website either yet, but some of the other like liquor chocolates, you get a little hint of it or an essence of it. And these are like the one we do with Fireball whiskey.
Oh, wow.
Marinated in Fireball whiskey is like a flavor.
I don't even know what Fireball whiskey is. I'm afraid
it's like it's so whiskey with a heavy cinnamon, like a spicy cinnamon. So
I
that one.
can imagine what that would taste like.
It's a flavor explosion. People when they bite it, they're like, "Whoa!" It's really it's a unique offering, and so when we take those places, we usually sell very well.
Okay. Well, I know that there are not many places. There are several chocolate makers and chocolate shops. They'll do wine and chocolate tastings. They'll do beer and chocolate tastings, but they do bourbon and whiskey chocolate tastings and chocolate pairings. Yeah. Yeah. And I know that cinnamon and chocolate goes really, really well together. I've never had whiskey and chocolate, so I have no idea. So it's just not up my alley. So
I don't really drink whiskey myself, so I don't know. But I've heard that. I've heard that the bourbon or whiskey and chocolate pairings becoming really popular. So I'm happy to do one. If someone wants to come in, I'd be happy to. I don't know the whiskey part so much. I guess I need to learn that part. It's all an education, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. And we can't learn anything unless we ask, and you're very curious, you're very open-minded, you're very driven. And I think that those are very core elements to having a successful business, no matter what the business is.
Thank you.
So I think that's really exciting. Well, do you have any questions for me before we wrap things up?
Well, I want to learn all about your chocolate background. So maybe we'll take that offline because your audience probably knows everything about you, but I need to learn about you. So, and I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me and to encourage me and be so supportive of people like me in the chocolate business and to really create like a chocolate community. It sounds like what's happening here, and I'm excited to be a part of it. I appreciate it.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time today to meet with me, to meet with us, and share your story with all of us. I'm really excited. I know I'll be in DC next week, and I hope I'll be able to find your chocolate in the store that I'm at. I'll probably be at the Chocolate House or what have you, and I'll hunt for your chocolate because the bar that I got from the festival there's about this much left.
Oh, okay, you're savoring it.
Savoring it, yeah, absolutely. But again, thank you for the time. Thank you for the knowledge and the education about what you're doing and sharing all the exciting news with us. So everyone, Andrea Howard from Veritas Artisan Chocolate, and this is Robert Cabeca, the Chocolate Chef, signing off.
Thanks, Robert.
Fantastic day. All right, we'll see you guys.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.